At the height of the Second World War, deep in the forests of German-occupied Lower Silesia, stood a prisoner of war camp designed to be escape-proof. A place the Nazis believed no Allied airmen could outwit. This camp was known as Stalag Luft III, a high-security prison built specifically to contain captured Allied pilots. It was not intended merely as a holding camp, but as a fortress of surveillance, psychological control, and engineering precision. Yet it would become the site of one of the most extraordinary acts of defiance in modern military history, a story of courage, ingenuity, and sacrifice that would echo far beyond the barbed wire fences and watchtowers that surrounded it. Stalag Luft III was constructed in 1942 under direct orders from Hermann Göring, commander of the German Luftwaffe. Unlike earlier prisoner camps, this one was designed by specialists who studied previous escape attempts across Europe. The barracks were raised on stilts to allow guards to see beneath them, preventing prisoners from digging unseen tunnels. The sandy soil beneath the camp was deliberately chosen for its pale yellow color, making it easy to detect against the darker topsoil if displaced. Microphones were buried underground to detect vibrations. Floodlights illuminated the camp at night, and guards conducted constant roll calls. Every architectural choice was calculated to defeat escape. The men sent to Stalag Luft III were among the most determined and resourceful Allied servicemen of the war. They were fighter pilots and bomber crews from Britain, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Poland, Czechoslovakia, France, Norway, and later the United States. Many had already attempted escapes from other camps and earned reputations as Krieges, hardened prisoners of war who saw captivity not as an end, but as another battlefield. International law required POWs to attempt escape if possible, and these men took that duty seriously. To them, escaping was not just about freedom. It was about tying up enemy resources, boosting Allied morale, and continuing the fight. Life inside the camp followed a strict routine. Prisoners were woken early, counted repeatedly throughout the day, and confined to overcrowded wooden barracks. Food was scarce and monotonous, supplemented only by Red Cross parcels that became lifelines of survival. Despite the hardship, the prisoners organized themselves into a functioning underground society. They established secret committees responsible for intelligence gathering, forgery, clothing manufacture, and tunneling. Every man had a role, whether he knew it or not. The camp appeared orderly on the surface, but beneath it, an elaborate resistance network was taking shape. By 1943, escape efforts had evolved from individual attempts into something far more ambitious. A small group of senior officers began planning what would become the largest mass escape ever attempted from a German prisoner of war camp. The idea was audacious: to dig not one tunnel but 3 simultaneously to increase the chances that at least one would succeed. They were given code names: Tom, Dick, and Harry. The goal was to free over 200 prisoners in a single night, overwhelming German security and sending escaped airmen across occupied Europe in every direction. The engineering challenges were immense. Each tunnel would have to be over 300 feet long to reach beyond the camp's perimeter fences. The tunnels needed air circulation, structural support, lighting, and concealment. With no tools and constant surveillance, the prisoners improvised. Bed boards became tunnel shoring. Milk tins were transformed into air pumps and lamps. Civilian clothes were sewn from blankets and dyed with improvised pigments. Maps were drawn from memory, and compasses were crafted using needles and stolen glass. Every detail required patience, secrecy, and absolute trust. Digging took place beneath the barracks, often only inches from discovery. The sand was carried out in small bags, hidden inside trouser legs, and discreetly scattered across the camp during exercise periods. A process known as penguining. Lookouts warned diggers of approaching guards. For over a year, the work continued, night after night, under constant threat. When one tunnel was discovered and destroyed, the prisoners did not abandon their plan. They adapted and continued. By March 1944, Tunnel Harry was ready. The date chosen for the escape was the night of March 24th. Conditions were far from ideal. The ground was frozen, slowing movement, and the tunnel emerged short of the forest cover, forcing prisoners to crawl into the open. Nevertheless, the escape began. One by one, men descended into the narrow shaft and crawled toward freedom. Each man carried forged papers, civilian clothes, and a plan to reach neutral territory. In the end, 76 prisoners made it out before the escape was discovered. The alarm was raised, searchlights flooded the area, and German guards swarmed the camp. The largest manhunt in the history of the Third Reich began immediately. Adolf Hitler himself was enraged by the escape and initially ordered that all recaptured prisoners be executed. Though this order was later reduced, the consequences were still devastating. Within days, most of the escapees were captured. Of the 76 men who escaped, only 3 ultimately reached safety. The others were interrogated by the Gestapo. 50 of them were selected and executed without trial, in violation of the Geneva Convention. Their bodies were cremated, and the ashes returned to the camp in urns, a chilling message intended to crush resistance. Instead, it hardened resolve and exposed the brutality of the Nazi regime to the world. The 3 men who succeeded were 2 Norwegians and 1 Dutch pilot. They traveled hundreds of miles through occupied territory, using forged documents and assistance from resistance networks. Their survival was a testament to the planning, courage, and international cooperation that defined the escape. The story of the 50 murdered airmen became known as the Great Escape, a symbol of both triumph and tragedy. When the war ended, the crimes committed against the escaped prisoners were not forgotten. Allied investigators tracked down those responsible for the executions. Several Gestapo officers were tried and convicted in post-war tribunals. Justice, though delayed, was pursued in the name of the men who had paid the ultimate price for their attempt at freedom. Today, the site of Stalag Luft III lies near the modern town of Zagin in Poland. Little remains of the original camp, but the legacy endures. Memorials stand where tunnels once ran, and museums preserve the artifacts of ingenuity crafted under captivity. The story has been told in books, testimonies, and films, most famously in the 1963 motion picture The Great Escape, which introduced the tale to a global audience, though often with dramatic liberties. Yet the true story is more powerful than fiction. It is the story of men who refused to accept imprisonment as defeat, who used intellect and cooperation as weapons, and who upheld dignity in the face of cruelty. Stalag Luft III was meant to be a monument to Nazi control, but it became a testament to human resilience. The prisoners who escaped and those who did not survive left behind more than a legend. They left a reminder that even behind walls of steel and sand, the human spirit can remain unbroken.